What's up, guys? So you probably clicked on this video. It's probably because you either purchased the VLAN tail lights for the Ram 1500 and you're having warning lights show up on your dashboard, or the other reason is probably because you're considering on buying these VLAN tail lights and might have some concerns. So hopefully this video will clear up some of those concerns, and hopefully VLAN will be watching this video and would understand what the issue is, and they could fix it in the future, and then figure out a temporary solution on their end. So over here with the VLANs, I mean, they're nice tail lights because as they mimic the new Gen 5s. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people like the new Gen 5 tail light look. I mean, you do got the running light. These two are your brake lights. They have another running light and park light. And then this little one right here is your reverse light. Now returning to the back, we have 3 connections. So if you have the the base models with the incandescent light bulbs, basically you're going to be using these 2 harnesses. You're going to be using this harness to connect to for your reverse light, and this is going to be for your brake and tails and turns. And then this big one right here, this is the only plug that I will be using because I have a sport model, because it has the factory LED connection. So would the Rebel and the Army will be using these. So if you have the factory, if your truck came with the factory LEDs, you're going to be using this harness. And then I'm going to explain why this one is giving me warning codes, because it's one little crucial thing, one little thing that got overlooked. But these other aftermarket ones did not overlook that, and they utilize the factory harness, which it's a good thing. So now I'm going to show you on the dashboard that I have no warning lights temporarily. So once I connect the VLANs, you will see that it does come up with hyper flash and warning lights. So I'm going to cycle through the messages. As you can see, I got a sport model. Right now I have no stored messages, so I have no messages for bulb out, turn signal, or backup light out. And I'll show you that these tail lights are indeed working. Right now we got the running light for that one, and I do have the other one connected over there on the other side. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these off and then show the factory LED connection that goes straight to the truck. And then I'm going to show you as well the difference between this connection and the factory connection. All right, so I went ahead and disconnected the tail lights that I had previously. I'm about to go put in these VLAN tail lights, so that way you guys can see the error and the warning lights are coming up. They will come up on the dash as soon as I plug them in. So this is the factory harness. So it shows that I do my truck in with the factory LEDs. This is the factory harness that's utilized on these other aftermarkets. So I had to transfer the factory harness from the formal factory LEDs to this other aftermarket. So I'm going to show you guys the issues that these VLANs have when you have the LED factory connector. Here are the VLAN tail lights that give you the 5th gen look. As you can see, it got the same C outline for the running tail light for the running and park. And then you also got these middle ones right here for the running and park. Honestly, if I were to give a quick review, I don't like that. And VLAN should black that out and just leave the reverse light. Because right now, the brightness from the red LEDs, they kind of cover up the white reverse light. So anyways, besides the point, so I'm about to show you the issues and the warning lights you're gonna get with these VLANs when you have the factory LED harness. So coming in to the dash, I'm gonna go ahead and cycle the ignition. All right, so I'm gonna show you the error messages and the hyper flash. See, one of them already popped up. Already says left rear turn signal out. And there's the hyper flash. You won't see the hyper flash on the tail lights, but you will, if you have the vanity mirrors with the puddle lights, you will see the hyper flash on the mirrors. So right now, the reason that one was acting normal is because the BCM, the body control module that these vehicles have, has not picked up the issue on the right one. And there it is. They just finally just picked it up, and I'm about to explain how this works. So now you're about to see a bunch of messages here on the dashboard as I cycle through the messages. So now I got the left rear turn signal light out, right. And on top of that, it will also say, if I were to turn on the vehicle now and start driving it down the road, then it'll pop out with the brake out for both left and right, and also the backup light will pop up. All right, now I'm going to explain as to why the VLANs have this issue, and it's very simple, and it has to do with their connection. So I'm going to try to focus in there. So as you can see, they only have 4 pins, or should I say 4 wires going to their inside their taillights. They got 2 on top and then 2 on the bottom. One of them at the bottom, it's your running lights and your park lights, and then this one I believe is the reverse light. And then on the top left, you have your ground. In the middle and right here next to it is your tail and turn. So that's basically how it's coded. So as I'm looking at it, to me it says bottom right, the green one, that's your running light and park lights. The top middle, it's your turn signal and your brake. The black one is obviously ground, and your bottom left one down here is your reverse light. That will go into the VLANs. Now, so here's a quick reference, so you know what I'm about to explain next. Look at the factory harness. The factory harness does not have only 4, but it has 5. So it has 3 on top, and then if I turn it over, it has 2 at the bottom. So 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Now so you can look inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wires into the this harness right here, or should I say this connection. And then the VLAN is missing that 5th one. Should be right up there. It's missing that 5th connection, that 5th wire. That needs to go inside here as well, into the LED circuit board. So that 5th wire is very crucial. This is a white one with tan, or should I say gray? A little bit hard to tell. But that connection, or should I say that wire, is called a fault sense wire that runs diagnostics onto the LEDs themselves. So that way, if there's a LED that's blown out, it'll notify the BCM, the body control module, or the computer inside the vehicle, to let you know that, hey, one of my LEDs is no longer working. So that's the whole purpose of that wire right there. That needs to be part of the VLAN tail lights. So without that wire having any connection up here in the tail lights, it's right away is going to assume that the tail lights are not working, and you're going to get all those warning warning lights on the dashboard saying left turn signal out, brake light out, backup light out. As you can see, these other tail lights that I got, they have 5 pins because they're using the factory harness. This harness right here came from the previous factory OEMs. So as you can see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It has 5 connections, or should I say 5 pins, that will go directly into the factory harness. And then that fault sense wire on this one is this yellow one. So this yellow wire feeds into here, and then it turns into the blue one. The blue one then goes all the way through, and it's actually connected to their circuit board, along with built-in resistors, and it's just welded onto the circuit board, and that's how it determines if any of these LED lights in sequence just stop working. Then if they do, that blue, which is the diagnostic wire, will come through, will feed the message all the way through to this wire right here, up to the truck's body control module, and it will let me know that they're no longer working, and it'll just say light blown out or light out. But with the VLANs, that's the issue with them. That if you have the factory LEDs and you're utilizing this connection right here, you're going to be missing that 5th pin, and that 5th pin is really crucial to get all the warning lights off. But if you have the incandescent base models that utilize these 2 plugs, you're pretty much, it's plug and play. You can easily just take these 2, plug them in, and you're all set. The only issue you might run into is if from the factory they forgot to install the resistors. They have a resistor right here, but it's not a good resistor. It's one of those like resistors you could get from Amazon. It's basically inside, and it's connected to this thing right here. It's a little bit hard to tell, but that's the issues with the VLANs. I would have VLAN fix the issue by adding that 5th wire in there, so they could run diagnostics into their circuit board. And then also it could have a full connection down here with this one, and it could close the loop, and then they'll prevent the warning lights coming up on the dash. All right, so basically to wrap up this video, I'm going to reference here the VLAN manual. Pretty much everything I said previously, I'm just going to kind of repeat it again, but a little bit more clearly, just in case you didn't understand me the first time. Just in case the audio came in a little bit funky. So, as you can see on the manual, it pretty much explains what I just explained about which is the running light, which is the reverse light, and which is the brakes and turns. Then you also have a color-coded key there. Explains each color of the wire. White being reverse, black being negative, red being your turn and brake, and then your green being your running light. But just no reference at all to the diagnostic wire or the fault sense wire, as I was explaining. There's no reference to it. So it means it doesn't have it, it doesn't include it. So VLAN can't argue that, it was in there, because it wasn't. So that's pretty unsatisfactory, in my opinion, that the other taillights that I showed in the video, those were only $200, and I got those from eBay, and all it was me just taking the pigtail, that little harness that I was showing, from the factory LED lights, and then connected them to those $200 taillights, and they got it right. I mean, there's, like I was explaining, there's built-in resistors into the circuit board, and then they have the diagnostic wire doing its job. It was included, and It was basically plug and play, error free, and it still worked. But I began to notice that the running light does tend to fade. So if you guys caught that on the video, that was the reason for me to upgrade to the VLANs. But VLAN kind of disappointed me, because when I saw it, I should have examined the pictures a little bit more on the page of the on Amazon when I was going to purchase it, all the details. And I should have just quickly looked at the pictures, because they actually had the picture of the plugs, and I should have put 1 and 2 together. But I didn't put 1 and 2 together until I had them in my hand, installed them, and then I'm sitting there scratching my head as to why I'm getting all these warning lights. And then once I disconnected them, examined both connections, the factory connection with the VLAN connection, it was pretty obvious that there was indeed a wire missing on the VLANs, which is the fault sense wire / diagnostic wire. So that needs to be included. I mean, there is ways to bypass all that, but it's too much. It's too much to do. One of them requires a visit to the dealer to get the body control module reflashed, so that way it accepts the VLANs, or pretty much it just turns off the fault sense wire all completely. But the issue with that, you're gonna have to almost fight with the dealer to get it done. It's gonna cost you a little bit of money. I'm not 100% sure how much it will be, but I know it's gonna cost you money to do that. And then on top of that, once you turn off that fault sense wire, it's not gonna notify you anymore at your convenience that the tail lights have blown out or they ain't working. So, to be pretty old school and walk around your vehicle just to know if your taillights are working or not. So you got to do like a pre-inspection of your taillights every time you're going to use your vehicle. So that's the inconvenience of bypassing the fault sense wire that the truck has. And that's what it's there for. It's there for your convenience, for you to know that your taillights are not working. So it's kind of like one of those lazy conveniences to have nowadays. And the other thing, it's also, you can also create a bypass harness, which is a relay switch, or to use a short pole, short throw relay, and it grounds the fault sense wire to trick the computer to make it think that the fault sense wire is actually reading something, which indeed will not be reading anything, but it will think it's reading something, and it will bypass the warning lights except for one, which will be the backup light. So you'll be able to use the VLANs properly up to an extent, but you're just going to keep having the backup light message on the dashboard. But I don't recommend doing that. I mean, these taillights are, I think, $300. I mean, up to $400 with tax and everything. So for a $400 taillight versus a $200 taillight that got it right in the first time with error-free messages, I don't know how really I feel about that. I mean, I kind of feel like I got ripped off a little bit, that I paid $400 versus a $200 taillight, and the $200 taillights should I say, got it right. So that's all I really have to say about the VLANs. I mean, the review, I could go make another video later on. Comparison with the Gen 5s, the true Gen factory Gen 5s, conversion kit with these, and then the $200 Taillights. Do comparison and review. But for now, this video's sole purpose is just for VLAND to look to see where their problems at, and hopefully their quality team and their techs could realize, like, oh snaps, we did overlook something and we need to sort it out. And hopefully they do sort it out. And if they do sort it out, maybe, I don't know, they send me the first new set. The new set with the new connection with the with that false sense wire in there. Tell, like, and that could be their first test dummy, I guess. But other than that, that's all I got. Hopefully this clears up some answers for y'all. But VLAN, if you're really looking at this, it's not much I could really explain to you. Hopefully this all makes sense. You can always shoot me an email, and I'll do my best to further explain it, but I think I explained it to the best of my ability in words. So thanks everyone. Sorry I took up a lot of your time on just rambling off on something that should have never been a problem to begin with. So, signing out.